I'm going to show you how a professional masks off a car to get it ready for paint. Using Q1 refinishing tape, I've got this neat little trick. You kind of flip an edge of this 3/4 inch masking tape so that you put it inside of all your door jambs. It kind of gives you a soft edge so that you don't have a harsh body line when you are done spraying. Take a look at that. Pop open the trunk. I always start at the back first and work my way forward. Press it in place here. Make sure it's snug and in the right spot. See what I mean with this tape edge? Really just folding over 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch of the tape onto itself, and it creates this little flap where it creates a really nice blend in case you have to paint over it. You never see it afterwards. 6-inch paper going inside the jambs on top of that tape. 6-inch paper is going to go on the trunk lid as well. I'm really just trying to sandwich in the masking paper so I don't have any overspray getting inside that jam. Watch until the end. I got lots of cool little tips and tricks that will definitely help you out when you are masking off a job that you are getting ready to spray. I also highly recommend checking out some of my other videos. You might find some helpful information in those as well. Closing the trunk, sandwich in all that masking paper. There's a plastic lip around this gas filler lid. I'm just hitting it with 1.5 inch masking tape. And then on the back of the lid, I'm gonna put in 6-inch masking paper. And then I will close the gas lid and it'll create a nice snug mask job inside, so there will be no overspray getting in and getting on the fuel cap. Really handy to have this paper taper machine. It mixes the paper and the tape. As you roll it out, you already have the right amount of tape sticking to your paper, so you don't even have to worry about fighting with your paper and tape getting it to work, because this paper taper just aligns it for you. See what I mean? There's a plastic edge. Just taping right on there. Close the fuel door, send it. Inside of every panel where there's a jam, I do this tape edge trick. So I did the trunk, now I'm going to do the whole side aperture, and you can see I could walk for miles. As long as the tape is, and I could just keep going and going and going, making sure I have that soft flipped edge. Try and get as much that I can handle, or try and do the whole side aperture in one piece if I can really figure out how much I need. When I'm doing this, one shot is great, but it's okay to break it up into more manageable pieces. And then you just kind of set it so it's about, we'll call it 3/16 of an inch inwards on the jam. You don't want to go too far where it's not really working. You want to go too close where you might get a harsh paint edge, but 3/16 of an inch or so is probably enough. Kind of like that. That's always done the trick for me. Never really had any issues. You never see the paint or the clear blend in there. Does a really killer job. Then just stuff 6-inch masking paper on top of all that tape. Definitely very important to make sure your tape sticks down well. A lot of these used car dealers, they'll come in, need some work done on a car, but they've already sent it to the detailer and it's just been all silicone and slicked up. So sometimes you'll have to end up wiping the jams down with some degreaser just to get your tape to stick. We're going to go around the whole side aperture, and then we're going to go around all of the doors as well. We're just going to half stick the tape on the outside, and then the other half is going to go on the inside of the door here with the 6-inch paper on the inside. And wherever we don't want paint, we're going to make sure that we put some tape and paper there. Otherwise you're going to have a mess to clean up. As you can see, it's kind of half over, half in. And then it's just a matter of closing the door, but don't forget, like I did here, about to close it, there are holes where the door handle goes. So definitely, if you can, put some masking paper or some tape on the back side. I tape this. If the door handle retainer is in but the handle is out, you could even use that foam tape, roll it up in a ball and stuff it in the openings, and that'll take care of that, so there's no dust coming out or overspray going in. Same flipped edge tape goes on the door here, and I put more 6-inch masking paper there. If you're worried about overspray getting in the car, keep that inner panel or the vapor shield in the door, so that if any overspray does get in, just like the moldings at the bottom of the door, couldn't quite mask it off. So I made sure that the vapor barrier was still intact there. So if there is any overspray, it still stays inside the door and doesn't get into the interior. More 6-inch paper, just like the rear door, around the front. And when you're doing along the bottoms of the doors, there might be some dust, some dirt, so definitely wipe off the dust and the dirt and then close your door after it's all masked up. Make sure you stuff that paper in really nice and then just shut it. And then here along the belt molding line, I back mask everything. I try and back mask as much as possible. It gives me a nice tight seal so I don't get overspray in or dust coming out. And then later on, it helps with putting the plastic on top. I'll even back mask the wheel wells, but make sure that you scuff the backside of the panels that you are back masking. For the simple fact is you're gonna knock off any loose dirt, so when you do blow off the car before it goes in the booth, you can blow off the dirt and dust so that your tape will actually stick. So back masking is probably the greatest way you can effectively mask a car to make sure you don't get overspray on anything you don't need, and it'll keep you cleaner. You'll have a much cleaner paint job. You can see wherever I can't back mask, I just hardline some tape. It's all covered up by a belt molding. Hardline some tape over the top of the car, back mask the rocker over body line. If there's anything that get covered up by a molding, you can hardline tape there, just like I did over the roof. I kind of use the 1.5 inches to try and seal off that drip rail because there can be a lot of dust and dirt getting stuck in there. Throw the plastic over and then unroll it. I try and do a 1/4 section at a time just so I don't have to fight with it sliding all over the place. Once you get the bag on, center it as best you can. I find sometimes you might have to pull it one direction or the other, because I'd rather have more bag on the side that I'm painting, so then it goes down to the floor so that overspray doesn't go underneath and get to the other side. If you don't have masking go all the way to the floor, the clear coat, the base coat, the sealer will go underneath the car and create overspray on the opposite end of the vehicle. When you're doing your plastic here, start in the middle and then pull it outwards to give yourself a nice snug, nice tight mask. The key is always to start in the middle and then pull it. You don't want to start the front of the vehicle because you might not have it square and centered, but if you start right in the middle, right where the B pillar is, you're always going to have a nice square and centered. You'll always end up with a nice tight mask. If you're wondering about the tape hanging off my hip, that is the tape thing caddy. Keeps your tape from falling on the ground because it's magnetically stuck to you. You always know where it is. It's easy to grab. Definitely the most handy tool I have in the paint booth right now. Highly recommend getting a tape thing. Now that we have the bag on, we have the plastic stuck to where we want, I go to the opposite side. I pull as much plastic and I put pigtails on all 4 corners, always starting on the opposite side of the repair in this case. Tie them down nice and tight, and make sure that when you pull up the bag like I did here, we'll make sure that we put it right back where we wanted it, and then go back to the other side and then continue doing the pigtails. Pigtails just a good way to keep up all that extra slack plastic and then tighten it up so it's not flapping everywhere. The tighter the mask, typically the cleaner the paint job. So pigtails definitely help. You can see how nice and tight it is along the side that I'm painting. I've stuck all the plastic down to all that back masking at this point. And then it's a matter of just cutting everything out. Right along the tape that you've stuck down, you won't scratch the paint. Don't put too much pressure on because it's just really thin plastic. It cuts easy with a sharp blade. And then you just cut everything out on the tape or in the cracks of your jams. And then just pull the plastic off. Sharp razor blade is a must. If it's dull, you're going to be struggling the whole time. After doing this, kind of get my plastic situated, I start taping everything down. I use 1.5" tape to hold the bag down. It's quicker, more efficient. You could also use 3/4 inch tape. I find this works. They both will work. This works faster for me, so the 1.5" tape is also twice the money to buy than 3/4 inch because it is twice the size. But we'll go around taping everything, taping up the top. To that tape, I ran over all the drip rail, taping up the doors here, making sure that plastic is seated. I'm not gonna have any holes so that if I spray, there's no overspray getting on the glass or on any adjacent panels. Taping inside the fender here so that we don't get any overspray going in the jambs there. Along the top, making sure everything is sealed up real tight. The cleaner the inner structure of the vehicle is, the better it's going to be to mask, because your tape will actually stick where you want it to go. I find around the wheel wells that you got to be very careful taping, because you still might have not got all the dirt off and the tape is stuck, but just barely stuck. So I try and be careful, not put too much pressure. As long as it's stuck down, I'm happy to go and send it. Up next, 18" paper on the rocker that I had backmasked along a body line. And the idea behind this is the paper is heavier than plastic. It's not going to move around too much. I always recommend putting paper at the bottom. And then I like to tape the paper down to the floor so it's a guarantee 100% seal that overspray is not going to go underneath the car and get anywhere else, and any dirt and dust is going to come out the other way. So hopefully you guys got some helpful advice in this video. Definitely check out my other videos. Hopefully you can pick up some tips and tricks there as well. If there's anything else that you'd like me to show, definitely leave a comment and I will make a video about it. And yeah, I'm sure we will see you in the next one.